Welcome back, everybody. Today we're taking a deep dive into a super interesting topic, the connection between gut health and anxiety.
Oh, this is going to be fascinating.
It is. And to guide our deep dive, we'll be looking at a blog post titled, How to Manage Anxiety by Improving Your Gut Health from Calm Within Chaos. It was published just a few days ago on November 4th, 2024.
I'm ready to jump in.
All right, let's do it. So this whole idea of improving your gut health to actually manage anxiety, it might sound a little surprising to some people.
Yeah, for so long, we kind of treated mental and physical health as like these two completely separate things, right? But
Yeah.
all this new research coming out, it's like, whoa.
Totally. And it's revealing all these incredible connections, like this thing called the gut-brain axis. Have you heard of that?
Oh, absolutely. It's like this mind-blowing communication network going on between your gut and your brain.
Exactly. And it completely challenges the old way of thinking.
It really does.
Okay, so the blog post dives into this gut-brain connection, and one of the key players it talks about is the gut microbiome. You know, those trillions of microbes that live in our gut.
It's amazing to think about, isn't it? Like a whole universe inside of us.
It really is. And it says that these microbes, they're not just there to help us digest our food, they're actually producing neurotransmitters that can directly impact our mood.
That's right. They're like little chemical factories churning out these crucial brain chemicals like serotonin, that happy chemical everyone talks about, and GABA, which has a calming effect.
So, like, if our gut microbiome is kind of out of whack, it can actually mess with the production of these mood regulators.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of crazy to think that something happening in your gut could actually be contributing to feelings of anxiety.
It's wild. So are you telling me that I could be feeling anxious, and it might actually be because of some imbalance in my gut?
It's definitely possible. Our bodies are so interconnected, and this gut-brain connection is a perfect example of that. And there's another important player in this communication highway, the vagus nerve.
The vagus nerve. Tell me more about that.
Well, it's the longest nerve in the head, and it basically acts like a direct line between your gut and your brain.
Just like constantly relaying messages back and forth.
Precisely. And here's where it gets really interesting. When there's inflammation in the gut, it can actually send signals along this vagus nerve highway.
Like a distress signal.
Yeah, you could think of it that way. And get this. These signals can actually contribute to anxiety and even mood disorders. It's like your gut is sending out an SOS to your brain saying, hey, something's not right down here.
Wow. The distress signal from my gut. So how do I even know if my gut health is messing with my anxiety? Are there any, like, telltale signs I should be on the lookout for?
Absolutely, there are. The author of the blog post lists some common symptoms that could be pointing to a gut health issue that's impacting your anxiety.
Okay, give me the rundown. Like, what kind of symptoms are we talking about?
Well, think about things like persistent digestive problems. Things like bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea.
Yeah, that makes sense. Those are pretty clear signs that something's off.
Right. But there are also some more subtle clues, like changes in appetite. Maybe you find yourself craving certain foods all of a sudden, or maybe you've lost your appetite altogether.
Oh, what about those mood swings that seem to be connected to what you eat?
Definitely. That's another big one.
Like, I've totally noticed that I feel more anxious after I have, like, a really heavy, greasy meal.
That's a classic example. It's like your whole system gets thrown off balance. And don't forget about fatigue, brain fog, and frequent abdominal pain. These can all be signals that your gut health needs some attention.
Okay, so I'm definitely going to be paying closer attention to all of those things. But here's the thing. We've established this link between gut health and anxiety, right?
Yeah.
But I need some hard facts. What does the science actually say about this? Is there, like, real research backing this up?
Oh, there absolutely is. There's a ton of research emerging that's validating this whole gut mental health connection. For example, there's a study published in the journal Nature back in 2023. Pretty fascinating stuff.
Oh, wow. What did they find?
Well, I found that people with anxiety disorders actually had significantly lower levels of certain beneficial gut bacteria compared to people without anxiety.
Wow, so this isn't just some, like, fringe theory. There's real scientific evidence to support it.
It's gaining more and more traction all the time. It's a really exciting area of research.
So, okay, someone's listening to this right now, and they're thinking, all right, my gut health might actually be contributing to my anxiety. What can I do about it? Like, where do they even begin?
Well, that's where this deep dive gets really practical. The blog post dives into specific dietary changes that can actually have a positive impact on both your gut and your mental health. And it all starts with understanding the key nutrients that play a role in this gut-brain connection.
Okay, I'm ready for a nutrition lesson.
Nah.
What are these magical nutrients I should be loading up on?
Well, for starters, we've got omega-3 fatty acids. Those are abundant in fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, sardines.
Oh, yeah. Omega-3s, they're good for like everything, right?
They really are. And when it comes to gut and brain health, they're like these tiny little warriors fighting inflammation.
Inflammation fighters, love it.
And then we have those all-important B vitamins, especially B6, B9, which is also known as folate, and B12. These are crucial for producing those mood-regulating neurotransmitters we talked about earlier, like serotonin and dopamine.
Okay, so if I'm getting enough B vitamins, my mood could definitely suffer.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of magnesium. It's often called the relaxation mineral because it supports your nervous system and can ease those anxiety symptoms. Plus, it helps with nutrient absorption, which is essential for a healthy gut microbiome.
So magnesium is like a multitasker. It's doing all the things.
It really is. And then there's zinc. It's famous for boosting your immune system, but it also helps manage stress and even supports the growth of beneficial gut bacteria. So it's like a triple threat when it comes to combating anxiety.
Wow, so it's like a team effort, right?
Yeah.
All these nutrients working together to support both our gut health and our mental health.
That's a great way to put it. It really highlights how interconnected everything is. And the blog post really emphasizes this holistic approach to managing anxiety. It's not just about addressing the symptoms, it's about taking care of your whole self, including your gut health.
So it's not just about popping a pill or relying solely on therapy. It's about looking at the bigger picture and making those lifestyle changes that support overall well-being.
Exactly.
Now, besides individual nutrients, the blog post also talks about this thing called an anti-inflammatory diet as a powerful tool for managing anxiety. What's the deal with that?
Well, the idea is that inflammation, it's actually at the root of a lot of chronic diseases, including mental health conditions like anxiety. So by reducing inflammation throughout your body, you're basically creating an environment where both your gut and your brain can thrive.
That makes total sense. So what types of foods are we talking about here? What should we be eating on this anti-inflammatory diet?
Well, think whole, unprocessed foods that are packed with antioxidants and other nutrients that fight inflammation. Things like leafy greens, spinach, kale, Swiss chard.
Got it. What else?
Fatty fish, those omega-3 powerhouses we talked about, like salmon, mackerel, sardines. And then there's nuts and seeds, like almonds, walnuts, chia seeds. And don't forget about fermented foods, things like sauerkraut, kimchi, yogurt.
Oh, yummy. Fermented foods. I love those.
And then sprinkle in some anti-inflammatory spices like turmeric and ginger.
Okay, that all sounds delicious. I'm already feeling less anxious just thinking about eating all of that.
It's amazing how powerful food can be, right? And the blog post even gives some helpful tips for incorporating these anti-inflammatory foods into your diet.
Like what? Spill the secrets.
Well, one simple but super effective tip is to prep your meals in advance. That way, you've always got those healthy options on hand, and you're way less likely to reach for those processed or unhealthy snacks when you're feeling stressed or you're just in a hurry.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm definitely guilty of making bad choices when I'm starving and I don't have anything prepared.
Another fun one is to experiment with new recipes. It's a great way to keep your meals interesting and avoid getting bored. There are tons of delicious anti-inflammatory recipes out there. Don't be afraid to get creative in the kitchen.
I love trying new recipes. This is a fun way to mix things up. Okay, so what about things we should be avoiding? Are there certain foods that are like really bad for our gut health?
Definitely. The blog post calls out a few common culprits that can really throw your gut microbiome off balance. Processed foods, sugary drinks, and excessive amounts of red meat are at the top of the list.
Okay, yeah. Those are usually the suspects when it comes to unhealthy eating habits.
Right. And when it comes to your gut health, they can really wreak havoc. Processed foods tend to be low in fiber and high in unhealthy fats, sugar, and all those additives. And those ingredients can actually feed the harmful bacteria in your gut and increase inflammation.
And sugary drinks are just empty calories, right? They contribute to weight gain and a whole bunch of other problems.
Exactly. And then with red meat, while it can be a good source of protein, eating too much of it has been linked to some digestive issues and even some types of cancer.
Okay, so moderation is key when it comes to red meat.
Absolutely. It's not about eliminating these foods completely, but it's about being mindful of portion sizes and making sure they're not the stars of your dietary show.
Okay, Makes sense. So it's really about making those small changes that add up to a big difference over time.
Exactly. It's not about deprivation or following some crazy restrictive diet. It's about nourishing your body with the foods it needs to thrive.
Speaking of nourishment, the blog post also talks about probiotics and prebiotics as anxiety-fighting allies. Now, can you explain the difference between those two?
Of course, probiotics, those are the good bacteria that are living in your gut. They help with digestion, they boost your immune system, and they even play a role in your mental health.
So they're like the good guys in my gut.
You got it. And some specific probiotic strains like lactobacillus and bifidobacterium have actually been linked to reducing anxiety.
Wow. How do they do that?
Well, they do it by fighting inflammation, regulating those neurotransmitters we talked about, and even helping your brain cope with stress better.
So they're like tiny little superheroes working hard in my digestive system.
That's a great way to think about it.
So where do prebiotics fit into all of this?
Prebiotics are basically the food for probiotics. They promote the growth and effectiveness of those good bacteria.
Oh, okay. So I'm basically feeding the good guys with prebiotics.
You got it.
And what kind of food do we talk about here?
Prebiotics are found in a variety of foods like onions, garlic, bananas, and whole grains.
So by eating those prebiotic-rich foods, I'm supporting the good bacteria in my gut, which can then help reduce my anxiety.
Exactly. It's all about creating this thriving ecosystem in your gut, and ultimately that benefits your mental well-being as well.
It's fascinating. It's incredible how much power our gut has over our mood and mental health.
It really is. And the blog post goes on to emphasize that while diet is a huge piece of the puzzle, lifestyle modifications can also play a major role in supporting a healthy gut-brain connection.
Okay, so let's talk about lifestyle changes. What are some things I can do to strengthen that gut-brain connection?
Well, reducing stress is absolutely crucial. The blog post specifically mentions meditation, deep breathing exercises, and yoga as really effective ways to calm the nervous system and actually improve gut health.
Those are great practices for managing stress in general.
They really are. And when it comes to the gut-brain connection, they're especially important because chronic stress can actually wreak havoc on your gut microbiome. It can lead to inflammation and imbalances that can then trigger anxiety.
It's like this vicious cycle, right?
Yeah.
Stress impacts the gut, which impacts anxiety, which then increases stress even more.
Exactly. So breaking that cycle by incorporating stress-reducing practices into your life is really important for both your gut health and your mental well-being.
So true. Now, what about sleep? Getting enough sleep is obviously important for overall health, but does it impact the gut-brain connection too?
You bet it does. The blog post stresses the importance of aiming for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night. When you don't get enough sleep, it can throw off the balance of your gut bacteria and increase those stress levels, which, as we've already discussed, can really negatively impact anxiety.
So prioritizing sleep is essential for a healthy gut-brain connection. Got it. Now, what about exercise? I know it's good for physical health, but does it benefit the gut and mental health as well?
Absolutely. Regular physical activity, even something as simple as a brisk walk or a bike ride, can actually have a significant impact on both your gut and your mood. Exercise helps to reduce anxiety, improves digestion, and supports the growth of those beneficial gut bacteria we've been talking about.
So it's a win-win-win situation, right? Better physical health, better gut health, and better mental health. I love that.
Exactly. And the blog post also mentions the benefits of mindfulness practices like journaling, nature walks, and breathing exercises for strengthening that mind-body connection.
Those are all great ways to be more present and aware, which I imagine can also help us be more in tune with how our gut is feeling.
Precisely. It's about becoming more aware of your body's signals and recognizing those subtle ways your gut might be trying to communicate with you.
Okay, so we've covered diet and lifestyle modifications. Now let's talk about natural supplements. Are there any that can support gut health and help relieve anxiety?
Yes. The blog post introduces natural supplements as a complementary approach to managing anxiety and supporting gut health. It's important to remember that supplements should always be used in conjunction with a healthy diet and lifestyle, and it's super important to talk to your healthcare provider before adding any new supplements to your routine.
Good advice. So what are some of the key supplements that the blog post mentions?
Well, we've already talked about omega-3 fatty acids, and you can actually take those in supplement form, typically as fish oil. The blog post also highlights probiotics, which are available in various forms, from capsules to fermented foods. And then there are adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha and rhodiola.
Oh yeah, ashwagandha. I've heard that's great for stress.
It is. Adaptogens basically help your body cope with stress more effectively, which can definitely help reduce anxiety levels. And lastly, the blog post mentions magnesium, which, as we discussed earlier, plays a crucial role in both gut and mental health.
So there's a variety of natural supplements that can support gut health and anxiety relief, but always best to talk to my doctor before trying anything new.
Absolutely. It's about finding what works best for you and your individual needs.
This has been such an insightful deep dive so far. I'm already feeling more empowered to take control of my gut health and potentially reduce my anxiety. But before we move on, I want to touch on one more really crucial point from the blog post. Everyone's path to managing anxiety is different, right?
Absolutely. What works for one person might not work for another. It's so important to approach this journey with a sense of curiosity, experimentation, and self-compassion.
So true. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. It's about finding what works best for you and your unique needs. But with patience, persistence, and the right tools, you can create a personalized plan that supports both your gut health and your mental well-being.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Now, in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to get into some even more specific strategies for improving gut health and managing anxiety.
Oh, I can't wait.
Me neither. Stay tuned, everyone. It's about to get even more interesting.
We'll be right back after a quick break.
And we're back. All right, so before the break, we're talking about all the amazing things we can do to improve our gut health and, in turn, help manage our anxiety.
It's really fascinating stuff, isn't it?
It is so much to learn. Now, I'm really curious about something you mentioned earlier, fermented foods. The blog post really emphasizes those.
Oh, yeah. Fermented foods are a powerhouse when it comes to gut health. Think of them as foods that have gone through this, natural transformation process.
Transformation. Okay, tell me more.
So during fermentation, beneficial bacteria actually feed on the sugars and starches in the food.
Interesting.
And get this, they create probiotics as a byproduct.
So it's like a natural way to increase the good bacteria in my gut.
Precisely. The blog post specifically mentions sauerkraut, kimchi, and yogurt as great examples of fermented foods that can help you cultivate a healthy and thriving gut microbiome.
I love all of those, especially kimchi. I mean, it adds such a delicious, tangy flavor to meals.
It does, and it's packed with those probiotics we're looking for.
So those probiotics, they're helping to crowd out the bad bacteria in my gut.
Exactly. And that can lead to less inflammation and overall, better gut health.
So incorporating fermented foods into my diet is a good strategy for improving gut health.
Definitely. Even a small serving of sauerkraut or kimchi alongside your meals can make a difference.
What about yogurt? I've always heard that's good for gut health, but there are so many different kinds out there. Are they all created equal?
That's a great question. And honestly, not all yogurts are created equal. When you're looking at yogurt, you want to look for ones that specifically state live and active cultures on the label.
Okay, so I need to be a label reader.
You do, because that tells you it actually contains those beneficial probiotics that we're after.
Gotcha. Anything else I should be looking for or maybe avoiding?
Yeah, another thing to keep an eye on is added sugar. Some yogurts, especially the flavored ones, can be loaded with sugar, and that can actually feed those bad bacteria in your gut.
Oh no, so it's kind of counterproductive then.
It can be, yeah. So it's usually best to stick with plain yogurt, and then, you can add your own natural sweeteners like fruit or honey if you want some extra flavor.
Oh, I can control the ingredients that way.
Exactly. You're in charge. Now, we've talked about fermented foods, but let's move on to another essential element for a healthy gut: fiber.
Fiber. Okay, yeah, I know that's important, but remind me why.
Well, think of fiber as the food for those beneficial bacteria living in your gut. Those probiotics we've been talking about.
So by eating fiber, I'm essentially feeding those good guys in my gut.
That's the idea. And the blog post recommends aiming for a variety of fiber sources, including fruits, veggies, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds.
Lots of good stuff there.
There is. Now, there are actually two types of fiber we need to be mindful of: soluble fiber and insoluble fiber.
I've heard of those, but what's the difference?
So soluble fiber, that helps bulk up your stool and keeps things, moving smoothly through your digestive system. Chia seeds, for example, are a great source of soluble fiber.
Smooth moves are definitely a good thing. What about the other kind?
Insoluble fiber, that also adds bulk to your stool, but it kind of acts like a broom sweeping waste through your digestive tract more efficiently.
Okay, I'm liking the sound of that. What kinds of foods are high in insoluble fiber?
You'll find it in whole grains, veggies, and the skins of fruits.
So it's important to eat both types of fiber for a healthy gut.
Exactly. Variety is key. And speaking of things to avoid, are you ready to talk about the not-so-gut-friendly foods?
Hit me with it. I'm ready to learn what I need to cut back on.
Well, the usual suspects are the biggest culprits here. Things like processed foods, sugary drinks, and excessive amounts of red meat.
Yeah, those are usually the first to go when you're trying to eat healthier.
Right. But when it comes to your gut health, they can really cause some problems. Processed foods, they tend to be low in fiber and high in unhealthy fats, sugar, and additives.
All the things we're trying to avoid.
Exactly. And those ingredients, well, they can feed the harmful bacteria in your gut and increase inflammation, which we know isn't good for anxiety.
And sugary drinks, those are basically just empty calories, right?
Yeah, they contribute to weight gain and a bunch of other health issues, and they don't do your gut any favors. And red meat, while it can be part of a healthy diet in moderation, eating too much of it can lead to some digestive problems.
Got it. So it's not about completely eliminating those foods. It's just about being more mindful.
You got it. Moderation and balance are key. Make sure those less healthy options aren't the main players in your diet.
So small changes can make a big difference.
Absolutely. Remember, improving your gut health is a journey, not a race.
A journey to a happier, healthier gut.
Exactly. It's about finding what works for you and making those sustainable changes that you can stick with in the long run.
Welcome back to our deep dive. We're in the final stretch of our exploration into the fascinating world of gut health and anxiety.
It's amazing what we've uncovered so far, isn't it?
It really is. The gut-brain axis, the microbiome's influence, and how our daily choices can impact both our gut and mental well-being. It's also interconnected.
Absolutely. And in this final part, we're going to delve into some more advanced techniques for really optimizing gut health and keeping anxiety in check. The blog post we're exploring today, from Calm Within Chaos, dives into this concept of mindful eating.
Mindful eating. Okay, I've heard that term before, but I'm not entirely sure what it means. Break it down for me.
Basically, it's about bringing your full attention to the experience of eating, really tuning into the taste, the textures, the aromas.
So instead of just mindlessly shoving food in my face, I should be, like, savoring each bite.
Exactly, slowing down and really being present with your food. And the blog post highlights how powerful this practice can be, not just for your gut health, but for managing anxiety as well.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. Tell me, how does mindful eating help with both of those things?
Well, for starters, when you eat mindfully, you're more likely to chew your food thoroughly.
Which is something I definitely need to work on.
And that does wonders for your digestion and nutrient absorption. Plus, when you slow down and savor each bite, you're more in tune with your body's signals of fullness.
So I'm less likely to overeat.
Exactly. And overeating can put a strain on your digestive system and contribute to those gut imbalances that can worsen anxiety.
It's all connected, isn't it?
It really is. But here's the really cool part. Mindful eating goes beyond just the physical benefits. It can have a profound impact on your mental well-being, too.
Okay, I'm all ears. How so?
When you're truly present with your food, you're less likely to get caught up in your thoughts, your worries, your anxieties.
So it's almost like a form of meditation.
You could say that.
Hmm.
By focusing on the sensory experience of eating, you're actually quieting your mind. And a calmer mind means lower stress levels, which, as we know, is good news for gut health.
It's incredible how everything comes full circle. Mindful eating benefits both my physical and mental health.
It's a win-win. And the blog post gives some great practical tips for actually incorporating mindful eating into your daily life.
Okay, give me those tips. I'm ready to put this into practice.
One of the simplest things you can do is create a calm and distraction-free environment for your meals. Turn off the TV, put away your phone, just focus on the food in front of you.
That's a good one. It's so easy to get distracted these days.
It really is. Another helpful tip is to really engage all of your senses. Notice the colors, the shapes, the aromas of your food. Feel the textures in your mouth. Even listen to the sounds of chewing.
Wow, I've never thought about listening to the sounds of chewing.
It might sound strange, but it can really help bring you into the present moment. And as you slow down and really enjoy each bite, you're giving your body time to register those fullness cues, which, as we talked about, can help prevent overeating.
These are such great tips. I'm definitely going to make a conscious effort to be more mindful when I eat.
I encourage you to. It might feel a little awkward at first, but with practice, it can become a natural part of your daily routine.
Okay, so we've covered mindful eating. What about other strategies for managing anxiety through gut health?
Well, we can't talk about anxiety without talking about stress management. We've already touched on some fantastic stress-reducing practices like meditation, deep breathing, and yoga.
And we know that chronic stress can really mess with the gut microbiome, which can lead to inflammation and those imbalances that can trigger or worsen anxiety.
Exactly. So finding those healthy coping mechanisms and making them a regular part of your life is essential.
Besides those practices, are there any other stress management techniques that the blog post highlights?
It's interesting. The blog post specifically mentions the benefits of spending time in nature.
Nature. Okay, now I'm really curious. How does that tie into stress and gut health?
Well, research has shown that spending time in nature can actually have a calming effect on the nervous system. It can help to lower those stress hormones, reduce anxiety, and even boost your mood.
It's like nature has its own healing power.
It really does. And some studies have even suggested that exposure to nature can actually increase the diversity of your gut microbiome, further supporting gut health.
I love that. I always feel so much better after spending some time outdoors.
It's a great reminder to prioritize those nature breaks, whether it's a walk in the park, a hike in the woods, or even just sitting in your backyard and soaking up some fresh air.
Even small doses of nature can make a difference.
Absolutely. Now, another stress management technique the blog post recommends is journaling.
Journaling, that's a good one. I've always found journaling to be really therapeutic, but how does it relate to gut health and anxiety?
Journaling can be a really powerful tool for processing your emotions, letting go of stress, and gaining clarity on your thoughts and feelings.
It's like getting all those worries and anxieties out of my head and onto paper.
Exactly. And by releasing those pent-up emotions, you can actually lower your stress levels, which, as we've discussed, benefits your gut health.
It's like an emotional detox. So journaling can help me become more aware of my triggers and develop healthier ways of coping with stress.
Exactly. By understanding yourself better, you can start making positive changes that support both your mental and physical well-being.
Wow, this deep dive into the world of gut health and anxiety has been incredible. We've explored the intricate connection between the two, uncovered the power of the microbiome, and discovered a whole toolbox of strategies for improving both gut health and mental well-being.
It's been quite the journey. And remember, it's all about progress, not perfection. Start with small changes and celebrate those victories along the way.
So well said. Before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with this final thought-provoking question from the blog post. What small change can you make today to start prioritizing your gut health and potentially ease your anxiety? It's a powerful question to reflect on. Maybe it's adding some fermented foods to your next meal, taking a few minutes to practice mindful eating, or simply stepping outside for a dose of nature. Whatever it is, embrace this journey of self-discovery and make your well-being a priority. Your gut and your mind will thank you for it. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive adventure. We'll see you next time with more fascinating explorations into the world of health and wellness.
Until then, take care.